do the following TV shows and movies in the rom-com genre have in common when it comes to the casting? The Summer I Turned Pretty, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, My Life with the Walter Boys, One Day, Ginny and Georgia, and the list goes on. I'll let you think about it. The answer is the following. The main love interest is a woman of color who falls in love with a white man. So bonjour my loves, I hope you're doing well, I hope you're doing fine. So in today's episode, I will talk about why Hollywood is quote-unquote scared of casting men of color when it comes to the main love interest. So before I talk about this issue that's kind of always been present, unfortunately, when it came to big movies, let's start by talking about the origin of rom-com. So rom-com is short for romantic comedy, which is defined as a movie or play that deals with love in a light, humorous way. When looking back at the early formula that found its way in the screen, we can look to the ultimate romantic, William Shakespeare. His plays like Much Ado About Nothing and A Midsummer Night's Dream gave the basic setup of early and many modern romantic comedies, where you see two people meet and then they have a conflict and then they reunite to live happily ever after. And romantic comedies have long been a staple of Hollywood. For a long time, those movies were actually really successful. They were cheap to make and they brought a lot of profit. For example, My Best Friend's Wedding, a 1997 movie starring Julia Roberts, Dermot Mulroney, and Cameron Diaz, was made on a $38 million budget, but worldwide the movie brought it more than $299 million. What do you mean? Another example, if you're not convinced, the movie Pretty Woman, which was released in 1990 with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, was made on a minuscule $14 million budget but brought in $463.4 million worldwide. It absolutely insane. And even in the quote-unquote recent years with the movie The Proposal starring Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, it was made on a $40 million budget and grossed $317 million worldwide. So like I said, they were super cheap to make and they brought so much money. And you're probably wondering, why did rom-coms succeed so much? Because, you know, they're kind of easy to make, the costumes are pretty simple, the storylines, they're nothing so surprising, like they're quite cheesy a lot of the time. So what doesn't make it succeed? The reason why they succeed so much is because romantic comedies are dealing with the fundamental aspects of human existence: desire, love, loneliness. John Alberti, a professor of English at Northern Kentucky University who has written extensively about this genre, said, "Unlike, for example, Fast and Furious, most of us are not going to become world-class street racers, but most people aspire to be in relationships and take that very seriously." Which is honestly super accurate and an easy way to describe like why rom-coms are so successful. Because at the end of the day, love is a fundamental need of humans. And talking about love, it's so funny how much these movies and TV shows in this genre are lacking so much diversity when love itself is supposed to have no barrier. And I strongly believe that the lack of diversity that we find in rom-com movies or TV shows is one of the main reasons on why this genre is declining super fast. But in the recent years, I gotta be honest, I started to see a shift in this industry when it came to casting queer people and people of color as not only the main character's best friend, but more and more as the main characters themselves, which is honestly a great step in this industry, more specifically in rom-com. But why is this diversity not being applied when it comes to the main lead male characters? Why do we rarely see in rom-com projects a man of color as the main romantic lead? Why are we seeing only this change, only this diversity when it comes to the main female lead but still not when it comes to the male lead. While doing my research and just thinking about this issue, I wrote a text and I thought that it was not to like send myself flowers, but it was well written. Of course, I asked ChatGPT to correct some mistakes, but I want to read it to y'all because honestly, I couldn't say it any better. Don't get me wrong, I think it's still super important to portray intersectionality, in this case, a white man with a woman of color, because it is a reality and a form of diversity that some of us live in, and it's important to see it represented on the big screens. But having it as a quote-unquote trend, which completely excludes men of color as leading men in rom-coms is kind of weird. Like, have you noticed that it's never the opposite? It's never a white woman with a man of color that is being represented on the big screens. As if men of color aren't attractive enough, as if men of color aren't even worthy enough. Even more considering that the white boy of the month, as much as it is a light-hearted TikTok trend of showing a new attractive white actor each month, why isn't this energy the same when it comes to men of color? There's plenty of attractive men of color. Why isn't it the trend attractive boy of the month? Why did it need to shamelessly exclude men of color? And don't even get me started with your bullshit of like, oh, but you know, it's open auditions for everyone, and like, I guess like it just happened that the guy who got it was a white man. The fact that it happens so frequently? Come on. Come on! Like, I've never seen a rom-com where the main romantic interest is a man of color and a white woman. Never heard of it, actually. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that they should only cast white women to play the main romantic interest and a man of color to play the romantic interest. Like, I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that diversity isn't just, okay, we decide that the diverse person in this project is going to be the woman, the main man, never. He can be white. And I kind of have a little theory. Maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but at this point, it's still an issue. So your girl has to like try to find a reason, even though it's still unacceptable because it's low-key giving racismo. So knowing that the rom-com genre has been for the longest time and still is portrayed by white people, and knowing also that the rom-com genre is highly popular towards women, knowing these two factors. So keep these two factors in mind. So once the producers and the directors were seeing that there was a decline in this genre, they were like, oh my god, what are we gonna do? Like, we need our money, we need to make it like back on track. So they realized that the lack of diversity was one of the main elements, and they were like, okay, we're gonna put more diverse people in our projects and as the main lead characters. So now, maybe they thought to themselves, well, knowing that rom-com is highly popular towards women, if we change the appearance of the woman in our rom-com, it shouldn't impact the women who are consuming this movie. Again, this is super heteronormative, I'm aware. It shouldn't impact the women who are consuming this movie because they don't care about what the woman looks like. They care about what the man looks like because he's like the main lead, and they want to like think that he's hot and like, oh my god, I want him, you know? These producers, directors, you name it, they base their attractiveness based on the current beauty standards, which is unfortunately that being a white person makes you rank higher in the beauty standards, which is a statement that I completely am not agreeing with. It's just unfortunately the reality. So once they notice that no matter what the woman looks like, no matter what cultural background she has, no matter what ethnicity she has, it doesn't impact the success of the movie. So they were like, okay, bet, here you go. We keep our diverse people happy, we keep white people happy because the man is white, most of the time, not to say all the time, and we are low-key kind of back on track. So this is maybe why we never see the opposite. Or overall, two people of color as the main cast. And I'm not saying that rom-coms of two main people of color doesn't exist. I'm just saying that it's super rare when it comes to like American movies, American TV shows, when it shouldn't be. And TV shows like Never Have I Ever and XO Kitty are proving to y'all that you can find attractive men as the main lead interest. Like, who are also people of color. Like, do not fucking tell me otherwise. And I'm not saying like erase white people from like rom-com movies and stuff. Like, I'm not saying that, of course not. All I'm saying that you should give the same energy to diverse people, and in this case for diverse lead male characters in the rom-com genre. So I hope you liked my little video. Maybe it opened your eyes. You tell me in the comments. Tell me if you have like similar thoughts and opinions, and maybe if you have opposite opinions of what I've just said, please block me, because we're just not playing in the same team. So on that note, I hope you have a beautiful night of sleep. I love you. Take care. Au revoir.